Yep.
Round 4.
I'm ready.
College
All
and
right.
career.
College and career.
Number 45.
Right on.
Appropriate. This is from Samantha. When you were in college, what did you do for fun?
Well, we had a den, they called it, where they had snacks and you could dance and things like that. I went occasionally. And then after Papa came there, we would go to the movie or do something on the weekends. And then Barb and I belonged to a sorority, so there were sorority functions. But again, it was just really simple kind of stuff.
And this was Maryville?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. How'd you pick that college?
Well, my grandmother lived there, and that's where my mom went to school. And even though it was in Missouri and I lived in Iowa, the out-of-state tuition was $50 a semester.
How?
Yeah.
Cool.
Was that expensive then?
No. Well, I don't know if it was or not. Yeah. And this didn't really have anything to do, but another interesting thing, and it's true still today, I think, is you don't buy they probably don't even use textbooks, but we just rented our textbooks. You didn't have to buy them, so that was a huge savings.
Yeah.
But I think because my mom went there, and then I had a grandma there, and 2 aunts and 2 uncles.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Number 48.
$48. Did you pass on any job opportunities that you still think about? This is from Tyler.
I didn't really pass on any. I was a librarian. Okay. And the teaching, I taught. I had a preschool in my home, and I taught first grade, and then I taught kindergarten, and then I was a junior high and high school librarian. But one thing, we had an evangelist come to church once from the Redbird Mission in the Appalachia area. And Papa and I always thought we would, when we retired, that's what we would do. He would have a lot to offer, in community development with his ag background. And then I could have done something in teaching. So that was something, I had thought we would do, but I never did do that. Okay, 46.
What was your first day of college like? From Greg.
Gosh, I don't even really I don't really remember, but I know those were days when they had initiation for freshmen, and you had to wear this green beanie, and they had different things that you had to do. Nothing that would hurt you at all. Mm-hmm. But I did live in the dorm, and they had hours, and guys were never. I mean, they could come to the main lobby, but every once in a while, some brave soul would creep up the stairs. But I really don't remember. I think it was an adjustment, and a lot of people were from Iowa. It was kind of like Kirksville. So many people come from Iowa there, and that's the way it was at Maryville. And I remember that it was so cold that winter, and we couldn't wear slacks. But they did let you wear them underneath your dresses finally because it was so cold.
You had to wear dresses?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow. What happens if you didn't wear a dress?
Well, I don't know.
Would they just send you home?
I'm a rule follower.
Right.
that didn't happen to me. I never went to a college football game till I was homecoming queen that year. And, I mean, not that year, but and I don't think I ever went to a basketball game. And as much as I love sports, I think that's.
You were the homecoming queen of your college?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I didn't even know they had that. How many people were at your college?
Well, I don't know. That picture that's been in your house was the
That is very impressive.
Well, anyway.
Did you Like, how did they vote for that?
Oh, I think different sororities put up people.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
Cool.
Wow.
anyway.
Yeah.
You should have put that as something you're proud of.
I didn't really have much to do with it. What about number 49?
Is it me?
Yes.
Yes, be professional. What was the first day of school like the fall after you retired from teaching? And this is from Dane.
Well, I remember I wasn't sure how I was going to react. I never did turn in my school keys. I still have them. Because I kept thinking I might have a meltdown and have to go up there sometime. And I'm sure they've changed the locks in 12 years. But I really was kind of concerned about that. Uncle Dick gave me great advice. He said, when you retire, people are going to be calling you. They want you to do this or that. And he said, you find if you give in, say, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that. Then he said, you have no time for yourself. So he said, my advice to you is just say, thank you, I'll consider that. I'm just kind of waiting to see how things shake out. And that was really good advice because you're so used to having a routine and a schedule. And it would be so easy. So the first day, I went to see Nana, so I wouldn't even be in town. And it's just interesting. When school starts, there's just something inside you that feels like you ought to be getting getting your school supplies, your new underwear and whatever. Get ready
Right.
to go. Well, that was really it. You had to get new stuff for the year. And another thing that I noticed that fall, because then I started walking, I thought, I cannot believe how gorgeous the leaves and the color and the smells are. Because when maybe it's that way with you and your jobs, you are just so focused on stuff you aren't even aware sometimes of what's going on around. So just the change of seasons, I just really enjoyed that, and I just kind of like a whole new experience.
That's an interesting
Yeah,
answer.
definitely.
Okay. Is that the first interesting one I've had?
No,
No.
just you. No.
One of many.
51.
This is from Heidi. What was the core motivator during those hard times of teaching?
We had, and there were, because we have a lot of children that are so deprived in all kinds of ways. And that's just hard to see that. And there's only so much you can do. And I had an assistant superintendent, Mr. Cody. One day I made an appointment with him, and I wasn't whining. I was really concerned about things that were going on at school and what I wanted to do, and I couldn't do it. And he listened very carefully, and then he just looked at me and he said, I want you to remember, Anne, that you can just make the time that the children are in your class, make that the best part of their day. And so that was kind of my philosophy. I can't control a lot, but I can control what goes on in my classroom.
Oh,
So
that's really good.
Yeah.
it was wonderful advice, and I got that fairly early, so that helped.
Helped throughout the years.
Yeah. And winding up with number 50.
When did you know you wanted to be a teacher? This is from Heidi.
Well, my mom was a teacher, and school was hard for me, and I think the first teacher I had that really made me feel comfortable and okay with myself was Mrs. O'Connor, my 5th grade teacher. I just loved her. Yeah. And I think because school was not easy for me, I wanted to do, that was one of my goals. I wanted to make each child feel like that I loved them more than anybody else, and that they were, for them to have some kind of success.
How did you decide kindergarten? Like, on what grade you were going to teach?
Well, I really, I was qualified, I guess, kindergarten, and then with my master's, preschool through 6th grade. And in all honesty, that was the job that was available. But I just loved that age because when I started teaching, they were still so innocent and so excited And a lot of them, we didn't have preschools then, and so a lot of them, it was their first experience with school. And I think that was another thing. I knew that it was their first experience, and I wanted to really try to make it as great as I could.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know when I liked teaching. We played school a lot, Barb and I, and my mom was a teacher, and this isn't probably the right reason, but you do have the summers off if you don't have to go to school. You have the same vacations as your children, if you're
Yeah.
teaching, and so there were a lot of pluses.
Did you do anything like in the summers for work, or did you just?
No, I went to,
Relax.
when I was working at graduate school, I went to school, but I never did teach summer school because I felt like, I needed the break
Yeah.
from school, and then also we had a lot of activities with the girls going on. So,
Oh, true. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway,
I think there's one left.
This is from Tyler. What other career paths do you still think about doing in place of teaching?
well, at my age right now, I just want to survive. But I don't know if I ever thought of anything else that I wanted to do. I love teaching, and so I retired shortly after I was 65. But I wanted to leave just teaching, leave just loving it, because so many people, particularly elementary teachers, they stay too long. And it was just, I was talking to the lady that made the cookies for the shower tomorrow she was talking about how she just loved having her own bakery and getting up and excited about going. And that's how I felt about school. I loved it, and I was so excited about it. And then to be a part of, forming a little person's mind and character and everything is pretty exciting. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
So, and to interact with parents and try to encourage them and other teachers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of kids loved you.
Well, and I love them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because at church there are several kids that that are adults now. And then Doug Hyman, that was in Dane's wedding, his wife Laura, I'd had her and her two siblings, and then I had their two boys. And so I've had,
Generations.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
parents and then had children. I never did have grandparents, but that I know of. But yeah, that is, and it's just a real blessing to stay in the same community and see some of these children that you had, and see them grow up and what they're doing. And
Do you have like a most memorable moment with one of your kindergartners?
well, of course, Johnny Woo.
Tell
Ever
us.
heard about Johnny Woo?
I don't know.
Well, he's probably the brightest child I've ever known, certainly ever had. And about the second day of school, I thought, we're going to have to get a handle on this, or it's going to be a long year for all of us. So I just called him over and I said, "Now, Johnny, I know that you know all of this stuff. But I said, if you could just go along with it, and when you get your work done," I said, "we won't be making a big deal about this, but I'm going to have a little office over here for you. And you just quietly go over," and I had all kinds of books and writing material and for him. And so he did. And then he had a little friend, Josh DeBerg, and he was very bright. And so after a few months, I would let them go all the way down to the 5th grade to my friend Mrs. Soul, and she would pull a map down from the wall, and Josh DeBerg would give the weather report, and Johnny Woo would read his news. He could just write he just was phenomenal. And Josh went on to be a weatherman in Columbia.
That's so cool.
And Johnny Woo's family moved, and I had his brother Jason, and Johnny moved, but he was just so bright, so bright. His parents were from Taiwan.
Do you know what he ended up doing?
Well, he committed suicide. I found a lot of his writings. He wrote a book one day and he said, "This has a surprise in it." And I had to get about halfway through it before I realized what he had done. But he had, it was an alphabet book, but the letter that he was featuring would be hidden in these words. But when you, and then you would see, he said it's an alphabet book. And then I thought, oh my goodness, it is. But I saved a lot of his writing and used it if I was giving, speaking at a conference or when I was in graduate school. So I had a lot of his stuff. One day he took his notebook and he opened up and he was working on it. And he had all of these squares. And I said, I don't understand this. He said, you and Mr. Bob are playing checkers. And he had all of these moves. Like he would draw the board like it was my move, and then he'd draw the board what Bob did. I mean, I just couldn't believe what he could think. But I had all of these papers, and so his mother's name was Mary, Merry, and his dad's name was Homer. So I looked them up, and they were living someplace in Michigan. So I wrote her and said I had some of his work. Would she like to have it? And she said yes. And then she wrote back when she got it. And we corresponded a little bit. And then she said that he had committed suicide. So I don't know what happened. But his brother Jason has a PhD from Northwestern and is a high school teacher in Denver. And she sent me an article about him not very long ago. He just sounds like the neatest guy. Yeah. And he could be teaching at a college. Mm-hmm. But he just is so interested in kids and learning. I think he teaches chemistry. So it was fun. He's also on YouTube because they're dancers. But anyway, so Johnny Wu was one of my...
Yeah, he sounds really neat.
He was, but... something happened, but it's been fun to correspond with his mother, and we're friends still on Facebook, and we exchange, at Christmas we exchange notes and Christmas cards. So,
have you tried to reach out to like other students that you've saved their work for, and then?
Sorry that you asked. In cleaning out the garage, your mother found a box of folders. Like I had some for Andy. Did you know I was Andy's kindergarten teacher?
Oh my gosh.
And I had some of his work. I usually made a book at the end of the year, but there are a couple of classes that I didn't. And so I had these folders and I just thought, oh my gosh. And then Aaron Vitt, that was Dane's wrestling coach, I had him in kindergarten. And so I have all of these old Valentines. I don't know what you do with vintage Valentines. They might be something. But I found the one he sent me in kindergarten, and I sent it to him one Valentine's Day. So I kind of do that if I know. But I do have work from other kids that we're going to try.
Maybe we can AFA them.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you like your own work at Annie's Free Auction?
Oh, but I did love teaching. I just loved it, and I worked with some great teachers, and so it was a wonderful career for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were good at it.
Well, I sure liked it. So